What I want to share with you in this video is how to tap into your highest inner wisdom. Because in each moment, literally you have the capacity to tap into the highest wisdom, the highest intelligence that exists in the entire universe. Every single person, every conscious being, if you're conscious, if you're watching this video, you have within you, within your veins, within your blood, within your consciousness, within your entire source of your being, you have access to the highest level of intelligence that can possibly exist. And how do you tap into that? How do you tap into that intelligence? I'm going to be sharing with you how to literally tap into that intelligence in this video, and how you can use this intelligence to your advantage to help you to get access to the types of experiences that you want, to attract certain things, whatever you want in your life. This intelligence is going to help to protect you. It's going to help to guide you. It will support you in every single area of your life. And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to tap into that. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, there's only two ways to do that right now. The first way is through single sessions. The second way is through email coaching, and the details for both of those things will be down below. Sometimes I do long-term coaching where I work with people for a few months, but that's not my main focus right now. Depending on when you watch this video, I may have access to that. So if you do want to try your luck to see if there are spots available. The third way to work with me will be through long-term coaching, and the details for that will be down below as well. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is to understand that although what I'm sharing with you right now might sound so simple and very obvious, what I want to share with you is to trust the emotional body. To trust the emotional body. Now you might be thinking, like, isn't that obvious? Isn't it obvious that I should trust my emotions? Isn't it obvious that if something feels like maybe somebody's selling you on a product and it feels sleazy, it feels wrong, isn't it obvious that you should trust that? Isn't it obvious that if something feels like a scam, you should ignore it? Isn't it obvious that if something adds unnecessary stress and anxiety to your life, you should not focus on that and you shouldn't do that? Now, I'm not saying that a healthy amount of stress and a healthy amount of anxiety is not a good thing. I'm not saying that it is a good thing. And in fact, it is very healthy to have some level of stress and anxiety in your life within a controlled structure to help you move towards your goal. But I believe that unnecessary stress, unnecessary anxiety is something that is obviously so obvious. You shouldn't be adding that to your life. And I say it in that way, and maybe me saying it in that way might like trigger somebody. It's like, but the thing is that I want to highlight so clear that sometimes it's easy when you hear me say it in a video like this. It's like, well, that's so obvious. Is it though? Is it obvious? I want you to think back to maybe a time in your life where things didn't work out how you wanted. Or maybe you weren't getting the results that you wanted. Or maybe things weren't happening how your heart desired. Maybe things were more chaotic. Maybe you were losing money. Maybe you had some issues in whatever area of your life. It doesn't really matter. We could talk about any area, whether it was in your relationships, whether it was with your money, or hey, maybe it was even with some problem with your body or something. I'm not a health professional, so I'm not going to share too much around that. But hey, think back. Think back to when you had the worst results in your life. When did this happen? I'm willing to bet that this happened because you didn't trust your emotional body. Now, of course, this is connected with having lack of intention and a lack of structure and a lack of discipline. Of course, that is part of the conversation here that I'm going to get to in a moment. But I do want to share, though, that, if you don't trust your emotional body, what's happening is that you have no connection to your wisdom. See, what is even wisdom? I recently had an insight that was really mind-boggling, where I realized what wisdom is. It just hit me. I was like, wait, I see it. I understand what wisdom actually is. Like, what is it? What is wisdom? Because you might hear it in a video or some spiritual teachers talk about it. So it's this airy fairy topic. It's so interesting. Like wisdom. Wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom. Tap into your spiritual intelligence. What is that? What actually is it? What actually is wisdom? Well, here's how I want to share it. Wisdom, what it actually is that you've made mistakes in your life. We've all made mistakes. Some really terrible mistakes that were extremely traumatizing. You could say unfortunately, but if you're here watching this video, hey, the fortunate side is that you're here and you either already learned from that mistake or you're learning from it now and you're processing it now while watching this video. Now, whatever the case is, wisdom, actually a very interesting topic, because what it actually is you made either a really, really bad mistake, really terrible, relatively speaking, to your life, or maybe just a not so serious mistake, but it was a mistake nonetheless. Nonetheless, it was a mistake. And it caused a really, you could say, negative or unpleasurable or painful emotion. Painful emotion. That's what your mind and your intelligence correlates to a mistake. A very painful experience. Painful experience, right? Negative, painful, lots of resistance, unpleasing, to say the least. Sometimes it can be much worse than that. But I'm speaking, in a less vulgar manner here to keep it down to earth. Now, the thing is that what happens next after this type of experience? What happens next? What happens to your life? Well, what happens next is that eventually you're going to have to move forward. Your life's going to carry on. You can stay in that realm of resistance and maybe being in pain or whatever it is, right? But the key is to learn from those mistakes. Let me give you an example. So near my house, I live in Canada. Okay, I live in Canada and it's quite cold here. And, there's a path near my house where there's like a sidewalk, and the sidewalk has like a little ramp. So it kind of goes like down just a little bit, it goes just down a little bit. And, there's a specific spot where it gets really icy and there's a lot of snow there, right? So when I was younger, many years ago, it's happened to me more than once, I would walk on that piece of ice and I would slip and fall and hurt myself. And it was quite painful, quite painful to say the least. It was very painful. It was not an enjoyable experience. And, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun whatsoever. Now, how many times did I have to fall to realize that when I'm walking down this path, right, what I do now, after many times of failing in this scenario, I just avoid that little spot. And if I do walk on that spot, I'm extra alert and I'm extra careful and I'm extra cautious. Either I avoid it completely because it's like I know there's a landmine waiting there for me to slip again. Why would I slip again? It makes no sense to slip again. It would be illogical. It would be unwise. It would be unwise. It would be not intelligent, you could say. It would be not a wise thing to do. So now now think about this. Does it require thinking to do that? Yeah, it requires logic. Yeah, it requires thinking. But that alertness, that consciousness, that presence, that sort of like intelligence. Yes, I could say the thinking comes from the memory of the mistake. I have the memory of the mistake, but what happens is that I don't have to think about it. I just kind of know to avoid that. But it's like, how? How do I avoid that landmine? How? Yes, by remembering the mistake, but how do I embody the intelligence? How do you become intelligent? By being alert and conscious of the mistake and being a certain way that you could say feels smarter than the past mistake. It's a feeling. You could say intuition. Now, I'm not going to be necessarily thinking about that mistake every single time, although I could when I see that path. I'm going to remember that mistake, but it's not that I'm going to relive the pain. I'm not going to relive the emotion. I'm not going to feel the negativity again and again and again. But what will happen though is that eventually I'll just kind of, you could say on autopilot. You could say on autopilot. I don't know if that's the right word. Some people don't like that word in the spiritual community because they associate autopilot with like unconsciousness. I don't think so. I don't think autopilot necessarily means unconsciousness. Autopilot just means no thinking, but you're going into take action without thinking. Action without thinking. Think about it. Do you have to think to walk? How does your body walk? How do you walk? How do you walk? How? Are you thinking about walking? No. You think about where you're going, but walking happens on autopilot. Autopilot is not a bad thing. You know, I don't really know why I could see how the words autopilot could be viewed in a manner where it could be associated with unconsciousness or lack of intelligence, lack of wisdom. I don't personally believe the same way though. I like to think of it as like conscious autopilot. Where autopilot, you can use this concept of autopilot and things happening automatically to your advantage. Where actually you're going towards something, but you're automatically know to avoid certain landmines, to avoid certain mistakes. And I think that's a great example because that's just one silly example, right? Maybe you did something also in your life where you hurt yourself or you made a mistake or something happened, right? And, you know, eventually you get to a point of intelligence where you're like, wait a second, no matter how I perceive the situation, it would be just unwise to do it again. Even if I like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if you fell and slipped and broke your arm again. I didn't break my arm, thankfully, but you know, imagine I did. And then I broke my arm again. And then I broke my arm again. And then I know for a fact that if I go on this path, and this is where it gets really interesting. I want you to listen carefully here because this is where you have to have discernment and not attack anybody, not blame anybody, but not necessarily believe everybody. Not everybody is going to understand what you understand because maybe you have more wisdom than them. That's just the truth. Doesn't mean you're better than them. Doesn't mean you're better than them in any way, really, but you're more wise. And it's not that you really see yourself in that way, but I'll give you an example to make it more relatable. Imagine if there's that path where let's say you broke your arm 5 times. 5 times in your life you broke your arm on the same exact path, the same sidewalk. You slipped again and again and again. And let's say you're walking with a friend. And you're walking with this friend. And what happens is that, you know, you're walking with this friend and, you know, you just know that mistake is coming. You know because you already experienced it. And he says, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't be scared, man. Don't be scared. Don't worry about it. And you're just thinking to yourself, like, no, you could say calmly, like, no, I'm not scared. I just know what that's going to be like if I do it again. And he may not understand. He may not agree. He may attack you. He may blame you. He may be like, no, you know, you're scared. Don't be scared. Don't be ridiculous. But it's just like, so, but are you going to get angry at him? Well, that doesn't make sense. You're not going to get angry at him because that won't do anything. Are you going to react to him disagreeing with you? Well, that won't really do anything either. No, the best thing to do probably would just be like, no, like, man, it's not about, or whoever it is, right? Male, female, whatever. It's like, no, it's not about that. It's just that, you know, I've been down this path before. I've seen that landmine and I don't want to break my arm again. And he'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And he'll trust you because probably you'll explain it in a manner where you literally experienced that mistake. You broke your arm 5 times. Of course you have experience because you've seen that mistake again. Now, I want to ask you, where in your life did you have a similar experience? Not where you had a friend or something, but where you repeated the same mistake and now you know to avoid that. That's wisdom. So wisdom is tapping into your emotional body, but also not forgetting the mistakes, because that's what wisdom is. Now, what I want to share with you as well is that if something feels contracting because you have a knowing that doing that same thing or being some type of way is going to cause you to cause damage to yourself, ignore it. And have a firmness in that. Have a firmness, because maybe somebody will come into your life and convince you that, oh no, you know, it doesn't matter, it's all good. They'll, you know, they might even push at your buttons a little bit. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's fine. Don't be scared. But it's like, you know, like, no, I just know that you know in every fiber of your being that it's going to be a wrong choice to make, whatever the decision is, whatever we're talking about in life. The key is for you to trust yourself and remember that mistake. Remember that negativity. Don't attach to it. Don't recreate the emotion in your body, But in fact, you know that not trusting your emotional body and your feeling will create that pain again and again and again. So this is where you got to trust your feeling. Trust your feeling and your logic too. Intelligence is not just about, trusting your feelings and having a lot. It's about memory too. It's about memory. Memory is important here. Think about it. And I want you to understand, God, I don't know how to communicate. It's I want you to really tap into the fact that how powerful your intelligence is. Because think about it. Think about how many mistakes you've made in your life, how many negative emotions you felt in your life that to some degree you were responsible for. Maybe you didn't do it on purpose. Maybe you weren't necessarily responsible actually completely, but you made the mistake. And the key is to take responsibility rather than playing victim, right? Because I could say, somebody, maybe the person needs to fix the sidewalk. They need to fix why is the sidewalk here? Why is this ramp here? Why is ramp? Or I could say, you know what? The sidewalk is what it is. I'm just not going to break my arm again. I'm going to learn from this. You know what I mean? That would be the more wise thing to do. To complain, it would be to fuel the situation emotionally. It may even lead me to breaking my arm again. To complain, and then maybe I'll forget about it and break my arm again. Unwise, not intelligent. Zero intelligence there, right? So what I'm trying to share here is that if something feels contracting, if something feels wrong because you know that there's a landmine waiting for it to explode and it's going to hurt you, ignore it. Ignore that emotion in the sense that ignore the problem. Don't focus on the thing that you know is going to cause that experience again. Ignore it in the sense that specifically I ignore that area of the sidewalk. I just don't walk past it. I don't walk there. I don't go in that area, and if I do, I'm extremely cautious, I'm extremely careful, and I walk very slowly and intelligently to make sure that I'm going to be safe. Not because I'm scared. I'm not scared. I'm just being safe. I'm staying safe. I'm not scared of the sidewalk. I'm not scared of a sidewalk, but I am cautious enough to understand that I could fall. There's a lot of ice there. Ice is very slippery. I could literally fall and break my arm. No, I've seen that pattern. I've seen that mistake. I'm not going to allow it to happen again. Now, by the way, I didn't break my arm. I just slipped. But I could have broke my arm, and I could have hurt myself a lot worse. So what I'm trying to share here is to trust your emotions. Trust how you actually feel. No, and the key here is no matter what anybody says, this isn't about blaming, this isn't about judging, this isn't about seeing yourself as better, this isn't about seeing yourself as higher. It's just about understanding that you know yourself better than anybody else. You know the mistakes that you've seen in your personal life, and you got to honor that. If somebody comes into your life that you know you're going to experience a same kind of result, maybe they're acting in similar ways that you've seen in the past, you ignore that. Or you communicate, you put your foot down, you use your voice, and you say, no, I've seen this before. I will not allow this to happen again. I'm not going to allow it to happen again. You put your foot down, you use your voice. And if that person is intelligent enough, they will sense your intelligence and they will appreciate it. And if they don't, well, then you don't want this situation. You don't want this person in your life because, again, you know the result that it's going to give you. But what I'm really trying to share here is that you want to know what your highest source of wisdom is in any moment in your life. You want to know what your highest source of wisdom is, even if you're not necessarily remembering every single. You can't be consciously thinking about every single mistake you've made in your life. You can't be thinking about that, right? To some degree, you're going to have to tune it out or be unconscious of the mistakes in your life. But what I mean is, you won't necessarily think about the mistake or constantly be worrying about it, right? Whatever the mistake is. I'm talking about any mistake you've ever made in your life from various different degrees, from maybe a lesser mistake to an extremely terrible mistake that was very traumatizing, and you never want to experience that ever again. There's some things that you know in every fiber of your being, I never want to experience that ever again. You just know that I never want to experience it again. Some things are like that. You could say it's unfortunate, but at least you'll know. If you're wise enough, you'll take it as lesson. You'll say, nope, I learned from that. I don't want that in my life ever again. I just don't want it. I'm past it. It's done. It's the past. I don't want it to be in my present. Now, the interesting thing here is that how do you tap into the highest source of inner wisdom in any single moment? It's how you truly feel. Okay? That's your highest source of wisdom. How you truly feel. Truly. Because you're going to fall off the path sometimes of, you could say, being aligned with your greatest version. Sometimes you're going to make more mistakes. Sometimes you're going to experience more lessons. Sometimes you're going to be more aligned. You know, that's life. Life is, sometimes you're in a space of more mistakes and lessons, and you could say more denser space. Sometimes you're more aligned and there's less lessons, less density, more excitement, more opportunities, right? And you're going to have, there's going to be different cycles and phases in life, in the experience of life. That's what I've noticed, is that sometimes, there's going to be different phases and cycles, all with different purposes, right? Sometimes there's more contrast, sometimes there's less contrast. You could say it like that. But when you have, you could say, a phase with less contrast, what I want to share with you is that your highest wisdom is how you truly feel. Always, no matter what, your true feeling, how you really, 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 really feel at the core of your being, at the very deepest core essence of your source. That's wisdom. If something truly feels off, no matter what you think about the situation, no matter what your thoughts are, no matter what your intentions are, no matter what you want, no matter what your desires are, no matter where you're going, no matter anything, if something feels truly off, that's wisdom. Maybe you really want a relationship, maybe you really want more money, maybe you really want this, but it's like, you just know, it's like, it doesn't matter. At that moment, you got to be wise, because you could be hurting yourself. It's like, imagine you're, to conclude this video, imagine you're, for example, sometimes I'm crossing the street, right? The crosswalks where you don't cross, obviously, when it says stop, and you cross when it says go. Sometimes there's like 5 seconds left on the crosswalk. 5 seconds, right? And, sometimes I'll run, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to make it. I'm going to run. Sometimes it's like, I just know, I don't have enough time. I'll wait for the next one. So I wait patiently, and then I wait for the next 30 seconds, so because it resets, right? It stops and it comes back, and then I have enough time to cross. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Sometimes I see people like running to make it. I need to make this. I need to go. It's like, look, sometimes it's not worth it. What if you get hit by a car? Was getting to your destination 5 seconds faster worth it? Not in my opinion. And that's just how I roll. That's how I like to live consciously. I like to live intelligently. To me personally, it's not worth to get to my destination. It's not worth to get to my destination an extra, like, let's say, what if you're late to work? What if you're late to this? What if you're late to a meeting? What if you're late to a meeting that can make you $1 million? I don't care. I'd rather be late and protect my own peace and protect my life, and I'll be 5 minutes late. It's never worth it. It's never worth it to lose your peace and to get into extremely chaotic energy for whatever it is. Sometimes what you want doesn't matter. And how I truly feel about a situation means that sometimes I have to sacrifice my intention temporarily and think of the bigger picture. Because if I die on the way to like wherever I'm going because I wanted to make it 5 seconds earlier, well, then I'm not going to have any intention about it because I'll be dead, right? So that's wisdom in my experience, in my opinion. That's intelligence. Who knows? You could say maybe, I never was hit by a car, thankfully, but who knows? Maybe, I don't know if you believe in this. I don't want to go too deep into this because this might be unrelatable, not down to earth. But hey, maybe in like a past life or something, I was hit by a car. I was killed in a serious accident or something like that. And now my intelligence wisdom knows, maybe in a past life I was extremely traumatized and have lots of pain, and so I know to just wait the extra 5 seconds, because some people don't think about it like that, right? Some people are like, no, it doesn't matter, just go make it as fast as possible. Some people don't think like I think, and I'm not saying that I'm better or anything like that, or that I'm a higher being or a higher consciousness being. No, that's just me personally. I like to be more alert and more conscious and more alert. And some people might disagree and think, oh, you're just being scared, you're being overprotective. Am I? I don't care. I don't care. See me however you want. I will wait the extra 30 seconds for the thing to reset so that I can slowly cross the street and be conscious of all the cars. Because like, what if there's a drunk driver? What if there's somebody that's less coherent on the road? Am I going to put my trust in everybody? And it's not that I'm paranoid. There's no paranoia. There's no paranoia or chaotic energy when I'm crossing. It's not like I'm crossing the street and I'm like, God, what if I'm gonna get hit by a car? It's not like that. It's just like, no, it's just alertness, intelligence. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm safe. You know, that's how I roll. It's not about being paranoid or thinking that I'm gonna get hit by a car. It's like, no, it's just what is the smartest, logical, most intelligent decision to make? Okay, running across the street for the last 5 seconds probably doesn't make sense. If I fell on that sidewalk many times, probably doesn't make sense to rush and, you know, forget about that spot with the ice. Doesn't make it. Just it's like it's an energy of like, it's just what makes the most logical sense. But you would think that by thinking, overthinking, right? You thinking that you would be more logical. Sometimes thinking is not what it is. Wisdom is feeling. It's feeling, and the feeling is, you want to know what builds that intelligence? Is in the past when you were thinking too much and you made a mistake. You weren't feeling enough. You were thinking. You weren't alert. You weren't conscious. And then you made a mistake. Maybe you got hit by a car. Maybe you slipped on a sidewalk and broke your arm. How did that happen? If you look back at these situations where you've made the greatest mistakes in your life, I'm willing to bet you were thinking too much. You were thinking too much. You weren't present. You weren't alert. You weren't trusting how you feel, and it led to some situation. Now you can think like, oh, it wasn't my fault. It happened because this. Look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point. If you got into a car accident, unfortunately, and you got hurt, to some degree, it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter. You can blame. You can judge. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. The best thing you can do is how can you learn from the situation? And I understand that when a mistake happens, it's very easy to blame. What you want to do is blame and find somebody to hurt and find somebody to judge and this. I understand that. You know, I completely empathize with that. But when it comes to this reality of a situation in your life, once you're back in reality, once you realize that the mistake happened and you're here and you're coherent and you're back in your center, the best thing you can do is learn from the situation and be more alert for next time. Okay, and with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, and by the way, that is how you tap into your inner wisdom, and I sincerely hope that this was valuable for you. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, there's only 2 ways to do that. Number 1 is through email coaching. Number 3 is through single sessions. Depending on when you watch this video, I may not have spots available for long-term coaching sessions, long-term coaching programs. I usually only take about 1 or 2 clients at a time for a long-term program. So if you do want to see if there's spots available and if you qualify for that, the details for that will be down below as well. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next